The man raised his sniper rifle and aimed at a wild wolf, but suddenly noticed something was wrong around the wolf. The man adjusted his rifle to 8 times magnification and saw a super powerful signal jammer in the distance. Realizing something was wrong, he looked around and found that there were signal jammers all around the farm. This made the man feel that something was wrong. At that moment, several heavily armed vehicles approached his house. The passengers were local assassins. As the vehicles drew nearer, Nick immediately fired a warning shot and shouted for his wife and daughter to hide inside. He then sprinted toward the house. However, the assassins had already reached the front door and raised their guns first, launching an attack on him. Nick swiftly counterattacked the next second. At this moment, his wife picked up her phone to call the police, but there was no signal. Seeing that the enemy outnumbered them, Nick immediately grabbed his gun and rushed into the house, telling his wife and daughter to hide in the room. He quickly reloaded his gun, and when the enemy charged forward, he opened the door and instantly knocked down one of the enemies. The enemy then opened fire intensely. Seeing no movement inside the house, the enemy immediately surrounded the house. Just as the enemy picked up an axe and prepared to force their way in, they discovered the door was unlocked. The next second, Nick quickly changed positions and casually threw a bowl on the ground. When the enemy burst in, they looked around, but did not notice the broken pieces on the ground. When the enemy stepped on the broken pieces, Nick fired decisively. At that moment, his wife and daughter were trembling in fear inside the cabinet. Just as the enemy was about to pull open the door, the woman decisively pulled the trigger. Hearing the intense gunfire inside the house, the enemy realized the man was no ordinary person. They quickly arranged for teammates to come to support him. When the enemy reached the staircase, Nick pointed his gun at their heads. The enemy became enraged instantly. They charged into the house. A killer stepped forward to investigate.
¿Lo ves? Con un rifle en mi cabeza.
The next second, soon a police car arrived at the farm. At this point, the officers were unaware of the situation. The car was subjected to a barrage of gunfire. The enemies then approached to investigate. The next second, at this point, Nick reunited with his wife and daughter. However, the officers were unfortunately killed. When Nick was pinned down by the enemies behind cover, his wife quickly drove the car out. Nick immediately jumped into the car and quickly escaped the enemy's encirclement with his family.